Johann Schwimmer owns this farm. Leonhard is his son and heir. Johann is 59 and is thinking about retiring and passing on the scepter and the pitchfork to Leonhard. That's been the tradition in his family.
Aufhören will ich in circa 3 Jahren.
I'm planning to hand the farm over to my son in about 3 years' time.
Und dabei ist für mich sehr wichtig, dass der Betrieb auch dann
It is important for me that the financial basis of the business be secure,
dass ich mit
so that I can launch my son's future with a clear conscience.
einen optimalen Start geben kann für die Zukunft.
Schwimmer Sr. says the new inheritance tax plans of the Social and the Christian Democrats in the coalition government in Berlin would jeopardize his son's future and cost the family a lot of money.
Meinen Betrieb ausgerechnet ist es
My son would have to pay about 100,000 euros.
Etwas über 100.000 Euro. Und das kann es
But a
nicht
business
sein.
like this does not have so much cash readily available.
Nicht sofort flüssig.
Inheritance taxes earn the German state the nice sum of 4 billion euros a year. Under the government's plan, a greater share of a business's assets would have to be paid in inheritance tax. And the heirs would have to keep the business for at least 15 years to avoid a further tax demand.
If the tax is so high, and I know I can never earn enough to pay all that tax, then it makes more sense to sell the farm, because I have to have enough to live on.
The new leader of the Bavarian Christian Social Union, Horst Seehofer, doesn't like the government's proposals either. His conservative regional party, usually closely allied with the CDU, wants more protection for family-owned businesses.
When it comes to inheritance tax, the issue is how do the CDU and CSU treat the property of ordinary people, the middle class, skilled craftsmen, professionals, as well as larger family-owned enterprises. This is a very important question. I don't want to live in a country where what happens is that when people who die and have run businesses and thus contributed to economic growth and created jobs and created wealth, that their heirs have to mortgage their property and sell their assets so as to satisfy the state's hunger for tax.
Agreement has to be reached fast. Germany's constitutional court is demanding a new law by the end of the year. A social democrat in the working group dealing with the inheritance tax says Seehofer just wants to protect the very rich.
The CSU wants to torpedo the inheritance tax either by causing it to violate the Constitution or by dragging out passing the legislation. It wants to give 800 million euros to lakeside villa owners, the party's sponsors.
Schwimmer Jr. fears the state just wants to milk him, just as the family makes most of its money milking cows. But in Germany, the profits of dairy farming are dwindling, and should Leonhard have to sell the farm, then the inheritance tax would be even greater under the government's plan.
If the politicians don't do something about it, lots of farms will be abandoned. For many families, the inheritance tax burden will be too large to bear. The politicians have to do something about it.
The Schwimmers hope the CSU will succeed in having the legislation rewritten. Some constitutional law experts warn that if a new law isn't passed by the end of the year, then for a while there could be no inheritance tax at all in Germany.